Welcome to the Dental and Mental Podcast.
We are going to be talking to you about the business and the mindset of dentistry.
What's up, beautiful?
Hey, lover.
Good to have you here.
Welcome back. Good to be here. Good to be in our house.
Bringing the mental to the dental podcast.
Yeah.
There you are. All right. Well, you look fantastic today.
Thanks. So do you.
Thank you so much. I'm really trying to kind of match.
I think your coffee cup is from Studio 88, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if it's from somebody who's camping who forgot to
No.
stuff,
Their theme was camping. It was great. It was a really cool box, and it was camping.
it probably was
theme.
them. I'm looking for the S8 E8 and I don't see it. So if it's them.
Either way, hello to our friends at Studio 88. We love you guys.
100%.
We are talking about high expectations requires high support.
Okay. Fancy verbiage. Break it down for me. What does that mean?
Well, it came through a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and we were talking about this in conversation about our kids, our team, all of those things. It's like, okay, you have a certain bar for people. It is here. Do you have the support in place that is required for them to hit those goals, right?
Okay.
So
how did the conversation come up? Like, where were you guys and what were you talking about?
I don't even remember. But what it convicted me of, because I was thinking about, so I think we've talked about this on the podcast, but I homeschool our 3 children.
You do.
I homeschool our 3 children, and we had right out of the gate this year, our middle kid was just absolutely crushing it. She was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then things kind of just really slowed down, and I couldn't really figure out why she wasn't crushing the way that she had been the first half of the year.
It's like when you first get an iPhone and it just holds its battery life forever, and then a year later it just depletes so quickly.
Yeah, but there's no upgrades for your child. Like, you don't go turn him in for a new one. You got to keep rolling with the same one.
It started so strong up. Well, that's what we're stuck with.
Right. Yeah, we got to keep rolling with the same one or whatever. So the way I was thinking about this was in context of that. So when her and I were talking, she said something like that, like high expectations, high support. I was like, oh, that is what happened with our daughter, is that during the first half of the year, I was really high support. And she was absolutely crushing it. But then what happened throughout the course of the year is I got really used to her performance being at a certain level. And so I really backed off from the support, and my expectation remained the same. I still expected her to crush because I had thought she had already gotten a pattern and in a habit of performing a certain way. But she actually ended up calibrating to my lack of support. And then it just didn't, the rest of the year was not the same success that the first half of the year was. Okay. And so I started, because I was having a lot of conversations with her about like, hey, what's going on with you? Where's the motivation that I saw earlier on? Like, your expectation is this. You are part of this family. The performance level is here, on and on and on, right? And through the conversation with my girlfriend, I was like, oh, actually, it was really convicting for me because I backed off on support, and those were the outcomes of backing off of that support.
For me anyway, as I'm thinking about that, a couple of different questions, which would be, how do you dance between hovering and micromanaging and almost being a crutch to that person who has expectations and wants to achieve a result? How do you take that balance of not being so micromanaging but also being present enough in your support and consistent enough, right? Like, as you described, you thought it had become a habit. It hadn't. So when did you kind of know when it is a habit, or are you always supposed to be there in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I think we always have. This is part of the curation of systems, right? So I am not a person who actually likes systems at all, but I'm starting to really like them and be curious about them, because those are the check marks that keep your habits going at a certain pace so that you can get the outcome that you want.
We have 2 very different programs within coaching. We're coaching dentists, and we're trying to get them to a certain financial goal, right, for the year or monthly, or changing the systems in their practice, or stripping down insurance and getting completely fee-for-service, going from 5 days to 3 days, whatever the goal is. It's kind of interesting because one of the programs is designed around a project almost. Wouldn't you agree? It's like real heavy-duty coaching is like, what is it you want to achieve? Now we come in as a support around that to accomplish that goal. But there are other things that are a lot more, to your point, more systematic or habitual. And that's a very different type of accountability and support. So I can think for myself, something like health and fitness, it's really good for me to have consistent support around that. And I have that. But I do not do well if I have a project that I want to accomplish. I don't like being in that container for months and months and months and years and years and years, because I'm very much, give me the things I need to do, give me the support that I need for that thing, and let me go crush it.
Right.
And then I don't really want to keep trying to find something else to work on, right? So the things that are habits give me consistent support around. The things that are achievements or milestones that I'm looking to hit, I really want punctuated support. Do you agree with that? How do you operate as a human being?
Yeah, I think that that's really true. So I have a coach that I continue to work with, but I work with her in containers.
Okay.
So,
explain that.
Right. So it's not like, hey, I am with you for a set amount of time, or we have a 6-month based container or a 12-month based container. It is a project based. I go with her in project based containers. This is the thing that I'm working on. Let's go and build this thing.
Yeah. Right.
And so that works really well for me because I have a clear focus, and then we start game planning around what that looks like. And I also have a lot of fun when I am working on a project with the necessary support because the outcome is really clear.
Right. Right.
Right. And I think that when there's other, to your point of ongoing support, so say it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to work with somebody for a year. I notice when I go into those containers, I show up in my conversations with not a clear direction, which is actually fine, but I'm using that person to process a lot of things and shift in the moment. How do I need to see this differently? What is the thing that I'm missing here? Where do I need to pivot? Where am I out of alignment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I use that person as kind of a sounding board versus I am extremely focused on a particular goal or outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I use different people for the support that I need.
So going back to our daughter, what do you think she needs? And what is it going to be because she's naturally very intelligent. She's very creative, but there is a side to her that will take the foot off the gas, shine a little less bright, right? What does she need?
So for her, what I am doing is I have a very clear goal. So there's something within our school, our homeschool, that's called Memory Masters. So next year, regardless of whether she likes it or not, she's going to be going for Memory Master. And right now, I don't think she's terribly excited about it, but she's getting that way because I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is something that the work is going to go into something where she's going to get a spotlight, and she loves that. So I think once she understands that the work is not for the sake of the work, but you will be recognized for it at the end of the year because Memory Masters is a really limited thing. Not everybody goes for it. Not everybody gets a spot. It's really hard, pretty rigorous.
3 of the students did it this year?
Yeah, it's really...
Explain a little bit of what it is, because it's actually pretty wild what this whole thing is. Like, I don't know of any other schooling modality that has this kind of a bar for kids that are quite young. I mean, some of these kids are like 2nd grade, 3rd grade, they're really, really young. So explain what Memory Masters is and who does it.
So you have to know all of your math facts, your cubes, your squares, measurement equivalents. You have to know 24 different historical facts, the entire timeline from creation of the world to current day, all of your presidents, all of the states, 24 science facts.
It's like 400 or 500 questions, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty intense. And so because I'm a teacher within the school, I am a person that has to test for Memory Master. Mm-hmm. So this year, one of our kids that tested for Memory Master, I heard another one of the tutors say it, which a kid that's a Memory Master immediately when they sit down. You can tell the ones who have put in the work. So you ask them the first question if they're like, the other thing too is it's a ton of geography. Yeah. So these kids you can point to anything.
Most people will have
you can point to anything
you
can point to anything on the map. So it's not just, limited to Northern America. It is the entire world. So you can point to anywhere on the map, and these kids have to know exactly what it is. Like a river, right? It's not even just like, what is this, Europe? Like, we're not talking that. You're like, this is the Yangtze River. So
what's kind of cool about, and actually this has a lot of parallels into life in general, if you really want to be successful, is that it's the age-old like Mr. Miyagi, right? Like having you wax a car, right? Or trim weeds and bushes and like that. You're like, what am I doing right now? And you can't necessarily understand because of your level of understanding why it is that you would do that. A lot of the kids in the homeschooling like coursework and all the rest that you guys have, they are tasked sometimes with doing things that I would imagine most kids are like, why am I doing this? For example, like drawing a map of the world by hand and memory.
Right.
So you have a blank piece of paper and you just start drawing the countries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild to see some of these kids when they show it. You're like, you just did it from your memory? But you would think going through something like that, like I can always just pull out my iPhone. And that's a really common thing. There's like chat, using your phone, using the internet. Like, can't I just Google these things? Why would I ever need to do that? But wouldn't you agree there's something that's being missed in that? Because that is true. You always could. If you're asked, like, where is the Ukraine? You can look it up on your phone. It's not like you have to have that memorized. But there's something else that comes from that process. What do you think it is?
I think it is the ability for one of the things that our kids are classically educated. Mm-hmm. And one of the components of classical education is learning Latin, which, to your point of even using the internet, Latin's a dead language, right? So unless you're in Vatican City, forget about it. Right? Like, forget about Latin.
The Chicago Pope's going to be bringing it back, you know? We're going to be speaking Latin.
We're pretty excited about a Pope from Chicago. And I'm not even Catholic, but sidebar, are you excited about a Pope from Chicago?
A little bit. Yeah,
why?
A little bit.
Why do we care?
Because it's just never happened before. I mean, popes, we used to consider them to be non-American. So to have American.
But we're not even Catholic. Why do we care?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, there's a lot of reasons spiritually and everything else. But I think one of the things that drew me just charismatically to it, I suppose, to even care, are his brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
His brothers are hilarious.
It's a
They're
Chicago family.
So different.
It's a Chicago.
All three of them are so different.
It's a Chicago family. The
other
thing
your brother's
too.
The Pope. He's still my brother.
Oh yeah, he's a little show off. Yeah, he's all you little show off.
It's way funny.
He's all, yeah, he switched from Spanish to Italian, you little show off.
Yeah, it's so good. But
the other thing I know about people from Chicago too is they always smuggle pizzas back home. Like
pizzas. Yes, it's true.
If you've ever met anybody from Chicago that no longer lives there, they go back and they all have a system for getting pizza back home.
It's because Chicago deep dish is different than every other pizza on the planet.
But I think you only really know that if you are from Chicago, right?
Have you ever eaten a Chicago deep dish?
Chicago? What I'm saying is like it's us and our burritos. You know what I mean? Like you don't really understand like you can only get this thing here and I grew up on it and so I'm going to like smuggle them back home. So I just like the idea.
You can finish a burrito. You can't finish deep dish. I mean, like, oh, good God.
That's not the point.
In my prime, I put like 3 slices down. I was like, oh.
That's not the point I'm making. The point that I'm making is it's really funny to think about the, I think he's what did they call him? The Holy Father?
I'm not Catholic, but I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
Imagining this man like smuggling in pizzas to Vatican City, where he like comes home to visit his family and he is right head of the Roman Catholic Church and he's like, I need to get my pizzas in my carry-on.
We need a New Mexican priest next. We'll send him some green chili. Yeah,
yeah, right.
Smuggle it in.
But anyway, all of that was a huge sidebar to go back to Latin. But one of the things that we talk about in homeschool is that Latin is exercise for the brain. That there is something that you have to do that nothing else other than Latin requires of you. So it is this mental building way. It's this mental muscle. It's like mental muscle building.
Okay, yeah.
That you can't do in any other way except through learning, understanding, and knowing Latin. And so it's not necessarily even for the result of being able to speak or read or transcribe things from Latin to English, which the kids have to do.
Right.
It is like the mental rigors that you put yourself through to be able to accomplish something that maybe seems lost or irrelevant now.
Right. There was a study, and I'm forgetting exactly when it was done, but to this point, it's actually really fascinating. They had 2 groups, and one group was they had a certain type of fitness routine that they had to go through. And primarily they were doing really anabolic type stuff. So they were trying to build muscle. And one group would work out and then they would get to do kind of whatever else they wanted. But they all had to follow, they had certain controls. They all had to have the exact same diet and sleep schedule and all the rest. Okay, they're trying to limit as many variables as possible. The other group worked out the exact same way, slept the same way, ate the same food. But the difference was they also had to spend, I think it was like an hour or two each day in their mind thinking about the muscle groups they'd worked out that day and visualizing them getting larger. And at the end, it was fascinating to see there was like a 10 to 12% difference.
How do you spend 2 hours thinking about your muscles growing?
I mean, people meditate for hours, and there are people who
about something, but not about your muscles.
Tom Cruise can hold his breath for 6.5 minutes. I mean, people can do crazy things.
I just want to know what the vetting process is like and how you know that person is really accountable for thinking about their muscles for 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't think you. Well,
maybe
you can now with some electrodes hooked up to the brain and seeing what parts of the brain are being lit up. Who knows?
Well, maybe to your point, the result that they got
exactly
justifies that they were actually thinking about their muscles for 2 hours.
In the end, it's not like you have clones of human beings, which would be the most accurate, and where you could test their brain. Of course, babe, there's limitations to this.
Look, I'm just being
you little hole puncher.
I'm just being the skeptic here because that's what the people are thinking.
It is. I think when you look at the results, everything else is essentially the same. It's different people, but I think they tried to essentially compensate for that. All right, by having similar demographics, similar ages and races involved in this. The results was actually pretty significant. It's like a 10 to 12% difference in anabolic muscle. And that's a big deal.
Is that a lot of muscles?
12% is a big difference from, yeah.
Well, yeah, but yes and no, right? It's like if I get a 12% discount on something, am I running to the store? No, but if it's a 25%.
Dylan, can you just turn her microphone off? I'm trying to make a point, okay?
If it's a 25% discount, I'm probably going to run, right? So I'm just like, okay, well, what is the, like, clearly I don't know anything about muscles. So is 12% a lot of muscles?
It's 12% gain versus where you were. So let's put it this way. Let's say that you weigh 100 pounds and you put on 12.
Of just muscle?
No, I just say you put 12 pounds on.
Okay.
Is that a lot? If you gained 12 pounds,
yeah,
and you weighed 100, is 12 a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, so 12% muscle mass is a big difference.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
It's a big difference.
All right.
Anyway, what's funny is that you're very much never a skeptic. You're actually a believer always.
Well, that's true.
You're very much like,
I don't know.
Sounds like a plan. I'm into it. Let's go. Babe, I'm not sure we should do that. It'll work out.
That is true. I don't
That's
know.
you.
I don't know why I'm being a contrarian today.
You know, it's okay. You get to be. You know, it's that, I was gonna say, it's that Hulk green behind you.
Maybe that's why I'm being a contrarian because it's like I want muscles and I just have to sit around and think about them. Maybe I'll get some. Why have I not had any?
That's why I like this study. The study was not one group thinks about it and the other one does it. That's the difference is a concerted focus. So the point of all that I'm trying to say is that is something that if you're a coach, we're talking about high expectations. I want to put on 12% more muscle mass. Fantastic. Okay. Then the concept behind that is go work out, go diet, go do all this stuff. Those are very put in this input, get this output. But if your fitness coach says, now also what I want you to do is I want you to think about this and journal about it or whatever else, watch movies of bodybuilders so you're constantly involved in this and your environment is one of being enveloped in what the result is that you want. And that's part of your homework. That's kind of like learning Latin to some people. You'd be like,
I think that's
what
true.
am I doing here? Like this is a waste of my time. Why not just go put in more reps? And the idea is that there are certain things, Miyagi style, that probably don't make a lot of sense to you because you haven't done them, right?
Okay, yeah.
But as soon as you actually start to see the results, which I think I would love to hear is I'd love to hear where you have had this sort of experience. Where have you been in a place where you had a high expectation and you really wanted a goal that you're like, I'm sure I'm going to get there. And maybe the best way would be like something you've tried to do on your own multiple times and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And you never got it.
Got it. Yep. You're right.
What's an example of that for you? And what was the difference maker? Was it just doing the thing? Was it accountability? Was it support? Was it a different way of looking at it? Was it all of that? If you enjoyed this episode of the Dental and Mental Podcast and this topic resonated with you, we go so much deeper inside the Thrive Lab.
So if you too want to be copied but not replicated, come join us in the lab.
And just for you, because you listen to the podcast, if you want a full $1,200 off of the year-long subscription, just use coupon code podcast. See you then.
I mean, I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I remember the first time David said, turning your annual income into your monthly income. Mm-hmm. And that was absolutely bananas to me. Because at that time I was a dentist, I was doing about $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What if that was possible to make in a month? And that was a very crazy idea.
Right.
And I remember I wasn't working with David at the time, but I was working with a different coach.
Okay.
The first time I hit $100,000 in a month.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to him, I was like, the link that I had with him and we had this goal and our constant conversation, and to your point of being bathed in that thing, right? We were working on it all the time. We were Voxering.
A lot. That's where we got into Voxer.
We were Voxering a lot. He would hit me back. This is the way you need to do this. Think about this different. But it was an immersion, right? It was like all in. It was an obsession. And it was somebody that was also feeding the obsession. He was pouring gas on my fire.
And
so it was like a cyclone happening, right? It was like
cyclone.
Right. It was like I can even feel it now. It was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get this. We're gonna do this. It was that. It was momentum. It was exciting. And I remember Voxering him the first time I hit $100,000 in a month. Mm. And I was like, what in the world just happened?
Right. Right.
And I remember what I said to him. I was like, the connection that I had with him and the key, like the going back and forth and like, let's do this. I was like, it feels like I'm in Hogwarts. Like that, like that's what it felt like, right? Like I'm learning magic. Like I'm learning how to, but it was that sustained focus. It was that all in, everything.
Yeah, and it is one part practicality, because there are very real things that need to be done in order to achieve the result. And I think that gets missed sometimes.
Oh yeah, you can't just sit there and vibrate.
I mean, some people believe that. Some people very much believe that you can vibrate and you will get the result.
Can't sit there and vibrate.
That's one piece. And then there is another part that's very impractical. And I actually think that if you're going to accomplish great things, and not even like, okay, let's put some dollars and cents to this. We just hired on an associate who we very much are grooming to be a partner in the practice. And that is the way we're operating, okay? Well, there's a certain dollar amount that they need to produce per hour for it, to be minimally profitable to the practice. Like, what's the baseline? And then there's certain goals that we have for this individual. But behind all that, we're really looking to see, like, can this person be self-motivated and then put in an environment where things are, conducive to that sort of result? Will they rise above, or will they sink to the lowest common denominator? And so far, this doctor has been phenomenal. He's done amazing. So yesterday, we're looking at, I've been in the practice now for 4.5 years. And so it's Greg and I there. And I look at
Greg's the new associate.
Mm-hmm. So Greg started out with like $1,300 on the schedule, but a lot of exams, okay, like 3 or 4 exams. And I was talking to Devin, and he's like, give him all your exams. I said, yeah, I'm done, of course. We'll give him all of my exams, and he can start to try to pull from those. And then it was, how well can he convert? How well can he meet that person's desire or pain point, chief concern, and get that into same-day treatment, right? This isn't doing anything to people. It's actually giving them what they want. And so I didn't coach him through it a whole lot. I was just a presence there. And this is kind of an interesting thing. He saw what my dollar amount was for the day. So I think I was at like 10. And slowly it went up to 5. Then went to 7. And then before I knew it, it's like 1 o'clock and we're neck and neck at like 11 each. So then Devin pops into our thread and he's like, we need a clear winner today, guys. Galen's up by 200. Decisive victory is $1,000 or more. Who's going to take it?
Wait, you got $1,000 if you won?
No. I wish. No. The practice isn't that generous. We got a pat on the back, okay?
Okay, well, remember I also did a stint in solar. Everything was a competition that was incentivized by money.
Yes, 100%. No, we eat what we kill, right? We each get a percentage of what we get.
Right.
And as an owner, it was fun. It was fun to see this. Like Devin and I together as owners were like, let's see what he's made of. Like, can he do this? So Greg's on board and he gets another like $500 and I get another like $600 or $700. And so it's like this the whole afternoon. And Dev's just chirping. And he's like, oh, who's going to get, if it's less than the $1,000 difference between you guys, that's not a winner, that's a tie, in which case, Galen, you lose because you've been there longer, and it's just going, right? So it's end of the day, I have a patient come in, we're seeing an implant, and the patient was like, hey, the root canal specialist you sent me to, 31's cracked.
So were you like, I'll do your endo, sir?
I was doing endo. I even at one point told Dev, I was like, look, man, I'm probably gonna do like some Lanap on someone who's a dentulous. Like we'll call it laser assisted, no attachment procedure. So we're both looking, and Greg has an emergency at the end of the day, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna get this emergency. They're probably gonna need something. Turns out it was like a piece of popcorn like stuck in a tissue.
Yes.
And I was like, yes.
Piece of popcorn stuck in a denture.
And then the patient that I'm seeing, great guy. We put his implant. He's thrilled. He's stoked with the restoration. And he tells me about this number 31. He's like, oh, it's cracked on the back. So the root canal specialist you sent me to said that it's going to have to go. He's like, where would you send me? And I'm like, let me look at this x-ray. I look at the PA. And this root is like 25 millimeters long. And I'm like, oh God. But it comes down to a point. It's not too rooted. It's just, I think I could pop this thing out. I go take a CBCT. It's a little close to the IA, but I'm feeling pretty positive about things.
And you don't do extractions usually, right?
Oh, I do a ton of extractions.
I'm joking.
Oh. She got me. It's my second one.
I know you do extractions.
Well, he did ask me, this patient, he was like, do you do extractions? And I was like, yeah, I do a lot of extractions. He's like, how about root canals? I was like, I've done exactly one.
Yeah, I know, 2. One. We needed 2 to graduate.
No, after school.
Oh, yeah. I didn't do any after school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was not proficient. You did not want me doing that. And I actually perfed my very first one. So that was the first and only. I like to do things I can see. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm looking at it. I was like, all right, this is definitely within my wheelhouse. I can make it happen. And we'll bone graft and all the rest. And he's like, well, when can we get it done? And I was like, I can do it today. And I look at Vanessa, my assistant, she's like, she rallied. We got it out. And I beat him by 1,200.
Woohoo! Good job, Lover. I haven't heard this story. Good job.
I saved it for the podcast.
Yeah, all right.
I mentioned this entire thing. I think that's a great example of the environment and the support, because all that did was make both of us aware of what was possible, right? In the same way Latin or learning something like doing memory masters, right? Like I think the best thing for Kyra at this, right, is for her to go through it, our daughter, and to see what she's capable of.
Absolutely.
It's not the reward. It's not even the recognition. It's none of those things. It's, wow, I answered 500 questions about everything that I learned for this past year, and I retained all that. And I did so articulately, and I did it with confidence, and I said what I needed to say. Like that does something for you as a person. It's a building block. Mm-hmm. It's an ingredient that you get to now use for other recipes down the road. You don't get it any other way.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you remember a time where you needed a lot of support to accomplish something that seemed far off?
Initially creating Thrive Bioaesthetics, which then was really our private practice for, 7 years. That was really difficult for me to believe in doing if it wasn't for you.
Oh, thanks, Lover.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually think that's an interesting thing, because a lot of people that we work with, they feel very isolated and very alone, not just because dentistry is an isolating field, but either they don't share much with their significant other, or the significant other is also kind of afraid of breaking that mold. It's like they get used to a certain way of living life and all the rest. And so a risk or an idea that's beyond what is conventional is a little disruptive, to that relationship. And so there's a fear about doing it. And I think that's a big part of what holds people back is, are you going to have the support of your significant other, right? Are you going to have the support of the people that you hold dear? Is your team going to support this idea? Or are they going to think, good old Dr. D, he's just on another one of his kicks. We've done this road before.
Right.
I think that's the sort of thing that keeps people.
On a CE high. On a CE high. You went to another one this weekend, come back, changed everything.
Like DEI, like that.
Let's come back, change it all.
Yeah. So I think when I imagined going from this really depressive form of dentistry, which is what you and I were in.
Right.
And asking myself, like, as the man in this house, like, could I possibly build something different? And could it be possible not to work 5 days a week in a practice where I'm traveling an hour and a half a day and feeling like I'm dying and some days making less than the assistant that's helping me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to actually do the kind of dentistry that I love? How long will it take me to get there? What will it be required of me? Those are questions that take time to sit down and think about. They take a lot of trial and error. You don't get it right your first time. There was years of us building that, but you were very supportive. And then at the same time, you were doing your coaching, really learning how to do that. And so I was essentially your guinea pig. And we've always talked about that.
Patient zero.
I am your client zero.
Yeah.
Always have been. I think that is, and it continues to be, my greatest source of, like, keep going. I mean, I talk about that. Like, you're my muse, but that's a really important element. I've had coaches and they've been extremely helpful and I like that, but I'm very competitive with myself. And I don't think everyone's like that. But I don't need a ton of support. I need people to believe. And if it's just one person, if it's just you who believes in it, I can do some pretty crazy shit. I don't need a lot of handholding. In fact, I actually don't like it. I don't like a lot of handholding. That's just me.
Well, I think that that's valid. And this is not for you. This is for people if you're getting the result, right?
Correct.
Because something else that I see from a coaching perspective is, one of the things that really grinds my gears.
What grinds my gears, Lois?
Yeah, you know what really grinds my gears is when we have docs in coaching containers and they're not getting the result, but they're also not using us.
I was going to say they don't utilize the support that's there for them.
Right. So, but this is not even like I'm not mad at them for it. It's a training of the DIY mentality, right? Like they don't want to be a bother, right? Sometimes it's that feeling of like, oh, I don't want to bother you with this. Like I should be able to figure it out. And the whole point of having support is that you're not a bother. You have actually brought somebody in on your team to be able to help you carry this thing.
100%.
And so sometimes I really want to encourage clients to use us more unless they are actually getting the result that they said that they wanted. So it's like if you're already doing the thing and you don't need to come and talk about something just for the sake of talking about it, please feel free to not say a word, right? Because you're out doing the thing. Right. But if you're not doing the thing and I'm also not seeing your name pop up on my phone, we've got to have a conversation here. Something is misaligned.
Well, and I think that there's a big difference between people who have, so we're talking about high expectations, high support. The expectation and the quality of that expectation matters a great deal. So a lot of what you and I try to build are things that at least in dentistry have not been done before. Or they're certainly done at a speed that's very different.
Absolutely.
Right? And so there's not a lot of people that can help me with that. We've gone outside the industry.
We've gone outside industry to do it, yeah.
But in our industry, I don't have that.
Right,
okay?
Of course.
It just doesn't exist. Someone didn't do that. So I think what we've tried to do and build and create and have built and created, it's better for me to have a different kind of support. And that kind of support is, again, it's been you helping sort of just with the mental grit that I have to have, with supporting even like lifestyle type elements, whether it's kids or it's health or what we eat or whatever else, like the fuel to kind of keep going. A lot of those things are the support that I need
Yeah.
to do what I need to do. But if you think about most of our clients and most of the docs that come to us, they're not like, I want to build something dentistry's never seen before. That's not who usually comes to us. We have some, we have a few, and they're very self-motivated.
Yes.
Our job is different with them.
Right.
But the majority, 70%, 75% of the docs that work with us want to build something similar to what we've built, right? Or a version of what we've done in their lane. And it's not carbon copy, but it's similar enough where you should be utilizing us
Right.
as much as humanly possible, because you're not trying to build something new. You're trying to adopt what we've already done and make it your own in your practice.
Yes.
So I think you just have to know who you are.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I utilize human design when we're in a coaching relationship. That gives me so much insight to how a person naturally operates to be able to tailor those things for them.
Right.
Right. So when we talk about human design, one of the things that I know is in your design is you have a natural competitiveness. I don't have it. So we're going to use support even from that one little thing that I can see in an HD chart completely differently.
Right.
So when I look at a person's human design chart, I can see how to best support them and how one person might use you and I completely different than another person.
Right. Right.
Which that is another piece that really shaves a lot of time.
It's actually really cool.
It shaves a lot of time off the timeline because we're not just throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's like, let's try this thing because I can actually see this is probably going to be really accurate for you to operate in this way.
It's a hack because it allows you to cut off avenues that are of no utility to you. There's something very, and we talk about focus. Everyone talks about, if you can focus more, you will get more of that thing you're trying to focus on done. You just got to get rid of the distractions. There's a lot of different ways of climbing the mountain, but when you realize that your human design is actually made for that path, not these other 5, it cuts down so much time. And you've done that for myself and for actually the vast majority of the dentists that have, I think probably all of them now who have coached with us. It's part of the package, part of the routine.
Yep. Doing human design is, and it's also something that we're going to be teaching within lab. Because one of the things that is really important to me is that the dentist can understand their own, to a certain extent, right? They can understand from a base level their own human design, and they can also pull it for their team and their kids and their spouse. Because I think another place that it's really shifted the needle for you and I is in parenting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's almost like a blood panel for your like mental makeup, right? And spiritual makeup. Yeah. It's a diagnostic tool.
Exactly.
And and I think that's such a, man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And if you can adopt that and you can believe it, which it's actually shocking to me. I'm a pretty, I get to be the skeptic with this one. And I'm like, yeah, bullshit. I give you this little bit of information. You're going to tell me who it is. Except for the results. Can't lie with the results.
Well, that's the conversation that we have with the docs, right? So when we do this, it's like, okay, I don't even care if you think it's bullshit. That's fine. Let's actually test it.
Yeah, let's play with it.
We're going to do this thing. You're going to go and do this thing, and then you tell me what the feedback is from it. What did we see? What are the results, right? So it's not just like, oh, this is the way that it is. Let's actually test it. Are we seeing an ROI in energy and leadership, in money, in whatever the metric is? Oh,
a lot of our Midwest docs, some of our Missouri show me state types, are like BS. And then you do that with them and they're like,
yeah, it's fun.
How is this possible?
It's fun.
And it is. It's a ton of fun. But that all goes to, again, it's a type of support. There's a lot of different variations of support. And I think as we kind of wrap this one up, one of the things that I think is really, really helpful is to find a support system that is customized to you. And we talk about this. We see this a ton in dentistry, especially with groups that are at scale. You will be shuffled in and you will abide by their rules and you will do things the way that they tell you to do, and there isn't customization.
Exactly.
And that can be good for a certain personality type. If that's what you want, awesome. If you don't have to think much about stuff and you're looking for very incremental gains, it can be awesome, right? It's like following just the latest trend for a diet or whatever else. Parts of it will work, parts of it won't. It's going to make you a little better because you're doing consistently. That's about it. But if you can have somebody literally go in and say, this is actually where you're deficient. I did a blood panel. You're deficient in these areas. And actually, you're an ectomorph, not an endomorph. And so we're going to change things this way. And it doesn't seem like mentally you actually really care for long cardio, but we still need to get that. So we're going to do a high intensity version and then customize every dial to you. So now it's sustainable. You enjoy it. You're motivated. You're getting results. You're seeing results. Of course, you're going to have massive, massive results. And then it's just that much more fun. That's the way we coach. Not for everybody, but for those that do and have the highest expectations you want, we got you.
Right. Yeah.
So.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Oh, fun.
Good times, baby.
Yeah. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, buddy. Go Dogs.
go Dogs. Little
All
Georgia
right.
Peach.
Thanks for tuning in to another podcast episode, Dental and Mental. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening and or watching the Dental and Mental podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any others for that matter, feel free to tap that subscribe button on YouTube, Apple, Amazon, as well as Spotify. While you're there, why not leave us a review up to 5 stars? And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what topic you want us to discuss next.
If you like what you heard today and you want to be involved in the Thrive world from coaching to courses or just to connect with us, go to thethrivedentist.com.